Hello. What we're going to do for this one is post up to a discussion board. Right? So one of the most common ways to write in nonfiction writing is to use a claim, evidence, and reasoning format. And even if they change the order, you'll most commonly find those three things in your paragraphs or across larger works as you are reading them in nonfiction. So what I want you to do is use that format, that claim, evidence, and reasoning, in order to address the question, based on what you have learned this week, what do you believe is the most important cause of the American Revolution? It's worth knowing, right, that historians often debate the most important cause of various events, including the American Revolution, right? There's no one answer that works for this as long as you're talking about the American Revolution. Okay. Historians routinely don't agree, so I don't expect you to come up with a single specific answer, and I don't expect your answer to be the same as anybody else's. Okay. What I'm mostly interested in with this is your evidence and your reasoning. In other words, how are you arriving at your claim? Okay? What makes you think the way you do? Show me that. Have a reasonable claim. Get a good grade. That simple. Okay? If you've never done a claim, evidence, and reasoning paragraph before, right? Claim is just your opinion in answer to the question. So when I ask, what do you believe is the most important cause of the American Revolution? Whatever that cause you've identified as most important is, that's the claim. Okay? That's the claim. Your evidence are going to be the examples, facts, quotes that you pull from what you've learned this week, right? Your quotes can be summaries of text. They don't need to be what's called verbatim. In other words, you don't need to type them word for word. Okay? It's enough to simply say, in TCI, it says blank, and summarize the 2 or 3 paragraphs into one sentence, okay? Or 2 sentences. So that's what we're talking about with evidence, right? The facts, the quotes, are the examples that demonstrate you're correct. And then reasoning. This is the part that kids struggle with oftentimes, right? The identifying good evidence is a really hard thing for kids. Reasoning is another area where kids can sometimes struggle. How does your evidence show that your answer to the question is right? Okay. I make a claim that taxation is the most important cause of the American Revolution, and then my evidence are the American rebellions and responses, right? The activities of the Sons of Liberty, so things like the Boston Tea Party. If that's my evidence, then my reasoning is, how does that show that it's the most important cause? And so in this case, it might be something like the number of people who participated, or in particular that it was, we're talking about the Sons of Liberty and the Boston Tea Party, the lower classes, right? So it's the everyday people. It's not just the wealthy folks and the influential who were getting involved. So my claim, evidence, and reasoning paragraph would be something like, the most important cause of the American Revolution was British taxation, colonial taxation policy. We can see that because of the variety of colonial responses that were against this policy, including incidents like the Boston Tea Party. The Boston Tea Party is a particularly good example of this, because it involved not just the wealthy upper classes who had political power, but also common everyday men, including apprentices and workmen or craftsmen. And so that shows that it was pervasive throughout, because the Boston Tea Party was organized by those upper class people, but executed by the everyday people. Okay, so that's me riffing because I know a lot and I can get away with that. But you get the idea. Okay? Once you've done this, take a look and see what other people come up with. I suspect if you're like me, you'll learn some things, right? I always learn things from an assignment like this, and I love getting some insight into how you think and what you pull out. Again, not one right answer, and don't steal my homework, okay? You need to come up with your own answer. So if you use taxation as your cause, come up with some different evidence, okay? All right, send me an email if you have questions or need help with anything. I'd love to help you out. Otherwise, I'll see you in class.